Folks, welcome back to another episode of Mayhem in the Midsouth. Our episode today, Deadly Chameleon. Folks, this story is going to be about a serial killer that operated primarily in the southeast part of the country. But as we're going to see now, he did travel to all parts of the country to do his business, and he had an ugly, dirty business. And there was something wrong with him, quite obviously. But in the end, he's going to get exactly what he deserves. So the story's going to open July 26, 1974. Jacksonville, Florida. He breaks into a house, attacks an elderly woman named Alice Curtis, ties her up, gags her, takes money from the house, took her car. Now, unfortunately, she aspirated on the gag that he placed in her mouth. Now, in an act of either total apathy or incredible ignorance, he stayed around Jacksonville for several days, driving around in the victim's car. I don't know if they just hadn't found the victim's body yet or what, but now prior to skipping town, he was looking for a quiet little spot to drop that victim's car off. And while he was doing so, he saw two little girls, and those little girls, Lillian Anderson and her sister, Myletta Anderson, they knew the suspect because their mama knew the suspect. Now later he would say he was afraid the girls would later identify him to the police, which is pretty dumb. It's not going to take long before they know it's him anyways, but needless, senseless. Anyways, he kills the two little girls, takes their bodies out of town, puts them in a swampy area there, just out of Jacksonville. Now he rolls into Atlantic City Beach, Florida, breaks in on a woman, Marjorie Howe, kills a woman by strangulation, steals her television set. I don't know what it is about him and televisions. I don't know if I'm assuming he's going to pawn them somewhere. It's not like he stays anywhere long enough to hook it up and use it. Now after killing that lady, he's heading out of town and he sees a hitchhiker, an unidentified hitchhiker, who still carries the moniker Jane Doe. He sexually assaulted her and dropped her body off on the side of the road. Now, August 23rd, 1974, he's in Missoula, Georgia, breaks in on a woman, Kathy Pierce, murders her. Now, the lady had a 3-year-old son. Now, he did not bother the 3-year-old. Now, September 3rd, so you just talking about a little over a week later, he's in Lima, Ohio, shooting the breeze with some fella in a tavern there in town, William Bates. Now, he ends up luring that fella outside. He kills him by strangulation, dumps his body in the woods nearby. Took the fella's money and credit cards and the vehicle. Now our killer, he goes all the way out to Sacramento, California. Now if he did something, which I'm sure he did, there's no record of it. But on his way back, he's going through Utah, near the town of Ely, Nevada. Now he runs across a couple of campers, Emmett and Lois Johnson. That's on September 18th. And he murders both of them. Now 3 days later, he's in Sequoia, Texas, and there's a female that's broken down. Her motorcycle's conked out on her. So he stops, tells her he's going to help her. Well, he ends up strangling her to death, takes her body, dumps it in the nearby woods. Just a few days after that, he's in the great state of Alabama, and he's in the city of Birmingham. Meets this woman, Ann Dawson, and they hang out for a little while, but 6 days later, he kills her. Now, her body has never been found. Well, now he, for whatever reason in his aimless travels, he starts heading northwest. Goes through Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, Minnesota. Now, there's no bodies to tie him to any of those 4 states, which doesn't mean he didn't do something. They just didn't find the bodies. October 19th, 1974, he's in Woodford, Virginia. Broke into the house of a lady named Doris Hovey. Murdered her. Now, there was no signs of anything taken from the house, so this was purely just a sporting murder. Now, he's still driving the car that belonged to that fella in Limo High, William Bates. How in the world he can stay in a car that long? It's bound to have been reported stolen long before now. Now, he's traveled all the way back down to Florida. He's down in the Key West area. He picks up 2 hitchhikers. Now, he would say later he's planning on killing them both. But now, he gets stopped by the police. Now, at the time, of course, the 2 hitchhikers don't know that they're in the car of a serial killer, nor that he plans to make them his next 2 victims. But anyways, the officer just writes him a ticket. So I'd have to believe you, or you would think that that fella's body's been found by now and that they know his car is stolen. But evidently it wasn't. Well, the officer was incredibly careless. So this shakes up our ruthless suspects so bad, he drops off the 2 hitchhikers in Miami, Florida. Now, November 6, 1974, he's in Macon, Georgia. And he's hanging out with a fella, and he goes to the fella's house, and this fella, Carswell Carr, his 15-year-old daughter's at the house as well. He stabs Mr. Carr to death and strangles the daughter. Just prior to the November 6th killing of Mr. Carr and his daughter, he's believed to have picked up 2 hitchhikers, Edward Hilliard and his friend Debbie Griffith. Now, Mr. Hilliard's body's found in the woods there along the roadway. Miss Griffin, her body's never been found. Now, he heads down to West Palm Beach, Florida, breaks in on a woman. The lady is an invalid, Beverly Maybe. Now, he takes the sister of this poor Miss Maybe and steals her car. Now, he doesn't kill the sister. He drops her off in Fort Pierce, Florida. Now, the next morning, as he's traveling out of Fort Pierce, he gets stopped by a Florida Highway patrolman. But our killer gets the drop on the officer and takes him hostage. Now, he leaves the scene in the officer's patrol car, and he's got the officer in the back seat of the car behind the cage. Now, he uses that squad car, and he stops a motorist, a la No Country for Old Men. Now, he takes this motorist hostage, ties him up, leaves him in his car, takes the officer who's got his hands tied or handcuffed, I'm assuming handcuffed, leads the officer up, puts him in the car. So now he's driving around, and he's decided that there's just not enough trunk space for 2 hostages. So he rolls into Pulaski County, Georgia, and he handcuffs the men around a tree, and he executes both of them with the officer's handgun. Now, just after that, he tries to crash through a police roadblock, loses control of his car, and he hits a tree, Car disabled, so he takes off and he's in the woods. Now they got the police after him. Police got their dogs, they got the helicopters up. They are saturating the area. Now, on November 17th, 1974, an armed citizen, I don't know if the citizen just happened to be out hunting or if he was part of a civilian posse, but in any event, he gets the drop on the suspect. Police show up, and they take our suspect into custody. Now, he's telling the police he's committed 35 murders. Now, they can only verify 18 of them. And now for the happy ending. On November 18th, 1974, our suspect is taken out of the Douglas County Jail. Now, he's going to go to the Hendry County area because he told police he'd hit a gun that he'd used to murder a couple of victims. So now inside this car is the sheriff of Douglas County, Earl Lee, and a GBI investigator, Agent Ronnie Angel. Now, according to the law enforcement officers, they're driving along, and the suspect was able to pick the lock on the handcuffs he's got on. He reaches through, over, or around somehow or another from the back seats. I don't know if there was a cage or what was going on. But anyways, allegedly he gets the sheriff's pistol. Now they're on Interstate 20 near that Lee Road exit when the car goes off the road. Now there was a shot fired from the suspect using the sheriff's pistol. But now the GBI investigator, he shoots and kills the suspect. Now, the GBI investigator and the sheriff, they get cleared. Their story sounds legitimate. The crime scene matches what they're saying. Now, unfortunately, the suspect's attorney, he's in front of the media screaming his head off, saying, "I don't believe that my client was attempting to escape." And he says, why in the world would my client try to escape? He's got chains on, belly chains. Now, his crime speed didn't last a real long time as opposed to others that we're aware of over the years. And he was operating at the same time when there were a lot of serial killers operating. But he sure did kill a bunch of people in a short amount of time.